Section 2. Video 6. Components and props. We have four main objectives in this video. 1. We will explain what React components are. 2. We will also explain what props are. 3. We will show that React composes components to build UIs. 4. We will state the rule that a component must never modify its own props. Components let you split the UI into independent, reusable pieces, and think about each piece in isolation. Conceptually, components are like JavaScript functions. They accept arbitrary inputs, called props, and return React elements describing what should appear on the screen. The simplest way to define a component is to write a JavaScript function. Now, we can create the element in JSX by using a welcome tag. We can pass a name to the name prop. For example, we can pass in the name John. The page now shows "Hello, John." The welcome function is a valid React component because it accepts a single props object argument and returns a React element. Note also that, previously, we only encountered React elements that represent DOM tags, such as div, h1, or image. However, elements can also represent user-defined components, as our welcome component shows. When React sees an element representing a user-defined component, it passes JSX attributes to this component as a single object. We call this object props. Note also that we always start user-defined components with a capital letter. For example, our welcome component starts with a capital W. When we represent the component with the welcome tag, then we need to have the welcome function in scope. Now, we will talk about composing components, which is another reason React is so useful. Components can refer to other components in their output, which means that we can join and layer components like building blocks. This lets us use the same component abstraction for any level of detail. Whether we are dealing with a button, a form, a dialog, or a screen, in React apps, all of these are commonly expressed as components. Let's define an app function component, which will refer to the welcome component in its output. Now, we can assign the app tag to the DOM-rendered element. The page still shows "Hello, John." Now, we can have the app component output welcome many times, with different names. Typically, new React apps have a single app component at the very top. Generally, we add the top-level app component tag directly as the first argument to the React DOM.render method call. A React component must never modify its own props. For example, consider this function, that sums up two numbers. This function is called pure because it does not attempt to change its inputs. A pure function always returns the same result for the same inputs. In contrast, when a function changes its own input, it is impure. For example, the withdraw function is impure because it changes its account input. It will return different results each time it is called. React is pretty flexible, but it has a single strict rule. All React components must act like pure functions with respect to their props. Of course, application UIs are dynamic and change over time. In a later video, we will introduce a new concept of state. State allows React components to change their output over time in response to user actions, network responses, and anything else, without violating this rule. We will now remove most of the code in this file in preparation for our next video's topic. To summarize, we explained what React components are. We also explained what props are. We showed that React composes components to build UIs. And, we stated the rule that a component must never modify its own props. In the next video, we will split a large component into smaller components.